Are there people who regularly drive to bars, get drunk, and then drive back home while drunk? If so, is that really not kinda weird or alarming? Yes. I used to run DUI education and therapy classes. A person drives intoxicated roughly 80 times before getting caught for a DUI in the US. It's way too common. Yes, very frequent and normalized where I grew up. Happens in every rural community on the planet where liquor is legal. Do you regularly go to bars? Next time you are at a bar, look around and see all the people getting plastered. A small percentage of those people has a sober driver or is calling an Uber. Notice all the cars in the parking lot? Very few of those, if any, will be left there overnight. Stay until closing and watch all the drunk people stumble out to their cars and drive home. It's so prevalent even cops know they can't get them all. They could do nothing but sit outside bars and pull people over every night of the week and still not make a dent. It's better now with Uber. Back just a decade or more ago, almost everyone drove home drunk at some point. Yes, and yes. Has been going since there were cars and will continue to go on until all cars drive themselves. My dad is old and has diabetes along with many heart problems, so it wasn't very surprising when I got the call from my mother the day I returned from my honeymoon with her in tears. Never in a million years, however, did I expect her to utter the words, "Your brother has been in an accident. He died on impact. Head-on collision." You see, he lived in the country, so it's reasonable that a head-on collision could happen, as there is unlikely a median in such a small town highway. While driving out to his funeral, we passed by the site. Only to my next surprise, there was a median. This POS was driving drunk with his wife in the passenger seat at 80 mph on the wrong side of the road. I'm now 29 years old, the youngest of 3, and I have survived the longest in my family. I no longer have brothers, in part due to someone driving while drunk. Please don't be the subject of someone else's story. I live in a smallish town where the only real thing to do is go to bars. Unfortunately, yeah, it's a completely normal thing for people to go get drunk and drive home around here. Like, genuinely, most of the cars you see on the road at night around here are probably drunk drivers. Unfortunately, that is not weird. In NJ, no one gaff until you kill someone. Yes, there are, and yes, it is. I live in a major city where this would be considered unacceptable. We have ready access to transit and most people don't drive anyway, so to drive drunk would be unusual, thankfully. I live in Portland, Oregon. Most people do not do that here. They get an Uber or Lyft home from the bar or take the MAX. My best friend lives in rural Montana. Most people there drive home from the bar, and the local police do not care, because they do the same. My experience is that it depends on the area. And yes, driving drunk is dangerous. Let me introduce you to the 20th century Elmau. Why do you think there are so many laws? Crazy to believe, but yes. In the US, when someone is arrested for DUI, on average they have already driven drunk at least 80 times. Wait until you hear about groups of Harley riders bar hopping law. Yes, there are. Years ago I was guilty of it, constantly fooling myself that I would be fine. I was very fortunate that getting busted for a DUI was the only trouble I caused myself. Grew up in NYC. We have a great public transit and cabs before. We have Uber and Lyft now. Been spending time in between Utah and Indiana. Vast stretches of nothing. Want to be social? You have to drive. Oh yes. Same with driving high. Oh, and just wait until you find out how many people drive without a seat belt, with their kids in the car, because they are too stupid to realize they become a projectile during a crash. Yes, and it's incredibly weird and alarming that it's somewhat normalized. None of my friends, along with myself, would even think about operating a vehicle even after just one drink. I'm in the Midwest US. Everything is so spread out here and public transport is so sporadic that we really don't have much choice unless we were to stop drinking entirely. Even using a DD is ridiculous. Your sober driver might be looking at a couple hours drive time to get a couple drunk friends home. Taxis and ride shares are few and far between. Buses stop early and routes are limited. Even sidewalks aren't guaranteed.